Quick note before today's episode. I am hosting a free workshop called Get Your Website Ready to Sell this fall on Tuesday, August 25th at noon Eastern Time. What happens is you'll log into the call with your website open in a tab, and we will use AI to check it live, and you will make real changes in real time, and I will be there to answer any questions that you have. And if you can't make it live, when you register anyways, you will still get the replay. The link is in the show notes. Now on to the episode. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. I asked my buddy Claude to pull the numbers on every single episode from this past year and look at what you actually listened to, shared, and came back to. Not just the topics that sounded good to me when I recorded them, but the ones that you actually liked. So today isn't something that I'm teaching, it's a countdown. I'm going to walk through the episodes that hit the hardest this year, and for each one, I will go a little bit deeper than I did the first time because I want to tell you why I think that episode landed the way it did and share a little bit of behind the scenes on why I made it and give you one thing you can actually do with it today. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high-performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B., web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. All right, here we go. We're starting the countdown. We are going to go with number 5. Number 5 was episode 127, Website Investment Return on Investment. When does it pay off? This one actually surprised me. I made this episode because I kept getting the same questions on consultation calls. People wanted to know if a new website was actually going to be worth it. And the thing about website return on investment is that a lot of people get it wrong. And they think that it should work like a Facebook ad. You spend the money, you will see the clicks within a couple of days, and then you can tell that if it's working or not. But your website isn't like an ad. It's more like hiring an employee. I always say this, your website is your best employee. And honestly, it's like something that you have to nurture so that it can grow. You invest up front and you tend to it, you nurture it, and then one day you look up and it's worth 10 times what you paid for it. In that episode, I walk through a realistic timeline. Month 1 to 3, it's that setup. You're getting indexed by Google, things are settling, you're building those initial traffic patterns. Then month 3 to 6, that's when things start really grooving along. Your content is getting found on Google. Inquiries are started coming in more regularly. And then by month 7 through the end of the first year, everything else is working and your website should be paying for itself. It's really getting into the flow. And I think that maybe the reason why this episode landed so well is that I didn't just give a vague answer. I gave you real numbers and real timelines and 3 ways that you can measure return on investment beyond just direct revenue. The time that it saves you, the confidence that you gain from finally being proud to share your site and tell everyone about your business. So if you haven't listened to that one, and you're on the fence about investing in your website, definitely start with that episode. It's a great one. It is number 127. Okay, number 4. Number 4 was, if I were launching a business in 2026, here is how I would approach my website. And this one shot off immediately. And I made this one because I listened to another podcast creator, and I don't remember what podcast it was because I listened to so many, but she did something similar. If I were to start over in 2026. And the core of this episode was really, I think, the permission to keep things simple. And I talk about simplicity all the time. But if I were starting out today, I wouldn't build the 12-page website like right off the gate. I would start with 4 to 5 pages, really simple and clear, like your homepage, 1 services, about, contact. And then, of course, your privacy policy. And if you don't have a privacy policy, your website needs one. I love Termageddon. I have details about that on my website. But that is it. And more importantly, I get crystal clear on who I'm serving before I make any design decisions, because The biggest mistake I see new business owners make is they build a website before they know who they're talking to. And I also talked about one design investment that I believe is worth making early on. It's a small brand package. I do not believe you need a huge identity project unless you're like super clear about who your business is. But if you're in the starting off phases, I think a logo, a color palette, and font choices that are cohesive is going to be a great investment that will go a long way. And I talked about giving yourself 4 weeks, non-negotiable, when you are building your first website because your website is never going to be perfect. It's never finished. I always say progress over perfection. That's the whole thing. And I think this episode hit because it gave people permission to really rethink their approach without feeling like they've done something wrong. It's more so about looking forward instead of being critical about what you need to do. And I think that's why it resonated. Number 3. Number 3 was preparing your website for AI search, episode 1. This one, totally, I get. I feel like I've done a lot of episodes about AI, and those have got a lot of downloads. People are very interested. And I do believe that a lot of business owners feel like they've been worried that they're already left behind in the AI world. What I talked about in that episode was how Google search has changed, and it's probably even changed since I made that episode. But back in the day, right, it used to be that you type these keywords into Google and you get a list of blue links to click through, right? You go through all the websites. But now people are asking tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude questions, and they are trusting the businesses that they get recommended back. So it means that being on page 1 of Google isn't the end all be all anymore. Your website, I also shared, it needs to be clear enough that an AI tool can read it and recommend you with confidence. And the best part is that AI is looking for what we've been talking about, these best practices for years, the same thing that people want. Crystal clear information in your hero section, who you are, what you do, structured, scannable content, real headings, avoid those walls of text, your city and state on pages if you are location-based, and your copyright year in your footer, the updated copyright, because that's a small red flag, both to humans and AI. And I also talked a little bit about something called schema, which is back-end code that labels your business for AI to read. What I was trying to do with this episode is take out some of the fear and replace it with a few clear, practical things that you can do. And I think that combination of naming the fear, showing you that you do not have to fear these AI search, and then sharing some practical ways that you can make sure that your website is searchable with AI, it made it one of the most listened to episodes of this year. That was episode 115. Number 2, my second top, is episode 120. Double your website conversions without more traffic. This one, I think, is important because, first of all, people love my episodes when I use anything called conversions. But I think a lot of times business owners believe that more is better. And in fact, more isn't always better. We want high quality visitors versus more of less quality visitors. So I talked about in this episode a little bit of math, right? If you get 1,000 visitors a month at a 2% conversion rate, that's 20 inquiries. You could spend a lot of money trying to double your traffic to 2,000 visitors, and you could get 40 inquiries at the same rate. Or you could work on doubling your conversion rate and stay at the 1,000 visitors and still get those same 40 inquiries without paying for extra traffic. And I talked about 5 specific strategies that you can double your conversion rate with. The first one is making sure your calls to action are clear and impossible to miss, and that one clear primary action is in the same spot every page. Adding social proof at the exact moment people are deciding, not buried on separate testimonial pages. Removing that friction from your contact form, speaking directly about the transformation your client is looking for instead of just listing your services, and being willing to say clearly who your website is not for. I want to say this again, who your website is not for. Because when you try to appeal to everyone, you end up connecting with no one. And this episode gave you a way to look at what you've already done in instead of trying to chase something new. And I think that is a little bit of a relief to people and part of the reason why it did so well. And number one was, and actually this one totally surprised me, episode 122, the 10-minute website audit that most designers miss. This turned into this episode into a scavenger hunt. I walked you through 10 checks that you could do on your own website in 10 minutes without any technical skill and without hiring anyone. It included things like your copyright date, doing a mobile test, tapping on your menu in the mobile version to make sure that everything works, like your phone number, does it call, the contact form, reading your own headline, making sure your contact information is visible within 30 seconds or 3 clicks, and making sure you have a favicon, that little icon in your browser tab. I think people trust something more when they can see it with their own eyes, and this episode lets you do exactly that. I gave you a checklist. You could do it on your own site in real time, and I think that is why this became one of the top ones from this year. So looking at all of them, is there a through line? And I keep coming back to, you want proof that your website is actually doing its job. Not more advice, not more to add to your list, just proof one way or another that what you have is already working. Or if it's not, then a clear next step. As we go into the fall, so I'm recording this in August, and I'm going to be recording some new episodes this fall, and I'm going to come back to this idea that I want to prove to you, is your website working? And if it's not, what you can do about it. I have an episode coming up about what you should do this fall to get your website prepared for this fall, because a lot of us have a really busy schedule in the fall, and it's important that we set up our websites now so that when the influx of business comes, we are ready to take it all in stride. And if you are listening and you want a second set of eyes on your website, you have some questions, or you'd like to know what you can do specifically to your website right now to get it ready for fall, then I encourage you to book a coaching call with me. I can share with you what's working and make some recommendations so you can make changes now and be ready to go when fall hits. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.